Well, welcome to the channel again. We're working on this Super C. I've got one of the new Woodruff keys that I just put in yesterday right up here. The second one, which I didn't even know I was going to have to use, but it's right there. The funny thing is, this shaft was worn a thousandths or two, and anyway, I didn't even have to file, bring this one down to size. It fit right in there nice. I actually had to tap it with a hammer. So that was kind of a win. And right now we're just getting ready to drive the taper pins in. And it's kind of an odd thing. Marden's, which everybody knows around the country is a surplus place. Back, probably... Jesus, it was before I met Carol. It would have been 30 years ago anyway. We was up in Waterford, and they had probably 200 pounds of taper pins, and I grabbed a couple, 3 pounds of them. They're all different sizes. I got some stuff I probably never will use because it's so big, the 1/2 inch on the big end. But I got a pile of these little, I don't know what numbers they are. I don't know how they go. But I do know that, they work. And get it down there where we can see the hole. Now we got to figure out which side is biggest, which sometimes is a trick. Oh, what are we, down too low or too high? I think we're down too low. Huh. Well, I gotta have 2 hands here for a little bit. I got that one in off camera. This one here, I've been frigging with it, and I think it goes from the bottom because it goes in further without tapping it. Maybe not. Seems like it went right up solid. Huh. Yeah, let's see how far, we're right at the edge there, so maybe it's just got to be picked up a little bit. Anyway, we'll hustle with it a little bit. There we go. Now, what we're going to have to do is drive that and then cut it off. Yeah, because it will not go around, but it's close. That's as far in as I can get it. It would have been nice if it would have been on top. I might have been able to drive it a little further. Oh, I guess maybe I can get it if I force it a little. It's tight. There we go. Get it out here where I can tap a little better. Get that wire out of the way. Yeah, that's as far down as it's gonna go. Yeah. And as you can see, it doesn't actually tighten on the other piece, unfortunately. So we're gonna have some slop there. That's all right. I'm gonna go ahead and get a whiz wheel and we'll cut that right off right there. Because I don't think I want to go in. I could go in with a reamer, make it a little bigger, and then it might catch the inside, but that's awful sloppy. I'd have to go awful big. I think I'm just going to cut it off, call it a win. So I took it off with an actual hacksaw. I figured if I took a whiz wheel to it that I'd drive a bunch of crap in around the seal, and I didn't want that. So anyway, yeah, so this side here is tight. I'm just going to leave them long. Easier to see which end to drive later on when you want to take it out. And all I got to do now is drive this back. The steering is hooked up. See what it feels like. Wow. Man, that is smooth as glass. Yeah, there's a little bit of slop right here. That's the only slop I've got, but I'm gonna live with it. I think we've got our front end pretty well tightened up. So I'm gonna move on to doing some of the electrical, I think, today. Well, I decided I was gonna run some wiring. So this here, of course, just stuck up in here. I don't have nothing finished on it yet. But this is where it's supposed to be hooked. It's good and tight so nothing will chafe. Yeah, I can talk. I came out, this is supposed to go down through here according to the drawings. But I'm gonna feed it back out around the back like so. Lot less chance of it chafing. And I'm probably gonna bring this black one. I'll put a different style on and I'll probably bring it up this way, right up the side. Because time you put that in, yeah, that will move in. There we go. Yeah, it'll run right up through that hole in the back. I'll keep that in the back. And then I think I'm going to bring this one from the front up around the back side too. I'll rerun this one. But these are number 10 wires I'm running. We're at 6 volt. If I had changed it to 12 volt, I would have done this in a 12. But 6 volt usually runs a lot more amperage than 12 volt. To do the same thing. So I opted on the safe side. I'm going to go with number 10 wire on both of them. And on the other side, the only other wire I really have to run, I got to bring one out this side and through here. And it'll come up over this bracket, through here to the coil. And then I'll sister up this thermostat cable. I'll sister it up right with the wire to come back in and go into the gauge cluster. So that's what I got planning on right now. Didn't get a whole lot done today. We put firewood in and just did all kinds of different stuff. Got a funny story though, I'll tell you. So anyway, I'll tell you this funny story about using this tractor when I was a kid. We used to pull a New Holland 77 and the hay baler. For those of you who don't know what it is, you can look them up on YouTube. They're big old beasts. They weigh about 3,000 pounds. And they're really too big for a Super C, but you know, my father placed down in Wyndham called, I'm drawing a total loss of the name of the place. Don't matter. Anyway, my father was looking for a hay baler and went down and he knew that he had this 77 sitting there not being used. And he says to him, he says, any chance you'd sell me that hay baler? Well, my father was, everybody in the country knew him because he ran the road grader all around the state. That old farmer says, well, he says, no, he says, I won't sell it to you. He says, but take it home and use it. And he says, if we ever have to have a spare, he says, we know where it is. He said, you can just keep using it. And he said, we won't worry about it. So that was, Jesus, 1970, you know, 50 years ago. And needless to say, that machine's gone now. I mean, it finally went out of time one day. And, well, I say it went out of time, the latch failed on the plunger. And when it did, it stove up the knotter, stove up all the fingers, and bent the plunger rod that went back. I mean, it had a good wad of hay there ready to go, and everything was in there, and it just, yeah, wasn't good. So anyway, but I'll get back to the story that I was going to tell you. We was hanging, and we had a 70 Chevy. And we was pulling a 2-axle trailer behind it. We was picking up the hay with it. My father was baling, and he had a 1951, I think it was, 50 or 51 stub nose, Ford stub nose. And it was shortened right up. My father used to move buildings. And had a 5th wheel on the back, and then a pintle hitch on the back of that. And guys from the back of the cab to the back of the truck. Maybe 6 feet. It was just a little short truck. But it worked good in the field because you could, you know, just like farm tractor, you could maneuver right around. So my father had stopped for lunch, and that old Wisconsin on that hay baler would never start when it was hot. Start slicking a whistle, but he knew he was just going to have a hot dog and he was going right back out. My mother had them all ready, you know. So he stopped up on top of the hill. I was coming up on the lower side there, and I stopped the truck. Father kind of come down off the hill a little bit. We're talking 300, 350 feet between the two vehicles. Well, I don't remember why. There must have been something frigged up with the belts or something, because my father didn't disengage the plunger. He just throttled the thing down and just kept it going. And maybe it didn't like to idle. I don't know. I don't know the real story why he left the plunger going. But he left that plunger going on that old hay baler. Well, Jesus, we was almost back to the truck. And you know how you think things are changing in your ears? Well, my father's, Christ, that sounds like that baler's moving or something, you know. He said something, and we quickly turned around. It was about 20 feet from the pickup, coming down over the hill, and it struck right in the driver's door of that 70 Chevy. And the funny part of it was, by the time we got there, it had batted it probably 30 times, because every time the plunger would go, that whole truck would rock right back and go right up and hit it. Stove that door all up. Kind of a funny thing, though, how that happened, you know. You think of stuff like that, but the only reason we wasn't pulling the hay bale with this was we was doing the field that was the steepest, and this tractor, even with the weights on it, every time the plunger would go back, you'd tear up the grass because it would spin, and then it would go ahead 2 or 3 feet, and then it would, you know, tear up another piece of grass. It really wasn't a heavy enough tractor for the hay baler, and you know, a lot of the places we'd make a big loop and come down on maybe 10 trips, first 8 or 10 trips where it was real steep. But even going down the hill, every time the plunger went forward, the tractor would slide. So he was tearing up the ground all the time. So on that particular place, we didn't take the mower off. We left the mower right on the tractor, and we used the pickups and everything else, and we had a Model A, homemade Model A tractor we used to do the raking with that time. And yeah, that's why this thing wasn't in the fray. Otherwise, this thing might have been on the hay baler that day. But yeah, kind of a different story, just something different. When I was a kid, that would have happened about 1972 or 3, I guess. And yeah, anyway. Well, that's all there is going to be. I'm just running these wires, as you can see. And I am using, you know, this is out of the owner's manual. You know, I took this and plasticized it there so that it wouldn't get all crap. But yeah, this here is supposed to go down through that middle there, like I said, but I'm bringing it, I folded it and brought it back, gonna bring it in there. Everything else is run the way it's supposed to. And anyway, tells you where everything goes to here. Pretty good little thing there in the owner's manuals. Yeah, when we're all said and done, this is what I ended up with. And this is the only one. I was going to go through the back with it, but you know, there's a lot of close areas here that stuff can chafe, and I decided that even though I don't like it out on the front because you can catch brush and stuff on it, I'm going to leave it on the front. I really don't know even what the book was supposed to, how it was supposed to be run. Let's see if we can make it out. Yeah. See, this one here is a little different. They're showing it going up from behind, but the actual regulator is shaped a little different on this one. It doesn't have anything out on the front. So anyway, that's good we're going to do. Keep safe, everybody, and don't hesitate to hit the like button and subscribe. We'll talk to you on the next one.